Hello, Halfway Cardinals. This is Miss Cross, the first grade teacher, and I will be reading a couple chapters for you out of the Storm Runners book. 1:15 a.m. Every few hundred feet, the levee was breached. They made it across the first 4 gaps by climbing down in the gap and forming a human chain, linking hands so they weren't swept out into the lake by the water gushing through. The first breach was 3 times wider than the others, and only 25 feet beyond the last one. "We're on an island," Nicole said. "A very tiny island," Rashawn confirmed. Chance glanced back at the previous breach just in time to see a large piece of asphalt slew off. "And it's just got smaller. The chain idea is not going to work here. It's too wide. We have to figure out an alternative." If he ever saw his father again, he was going to suggest several new items for the go bag. Right now, a length of rope would be pretty handy. "I think I can jump," Rashawn said. Chase and Nicole stared at her. She was big and strong, but she didn't look like she could jump a 15-foot gap and land on a jagged piece of asphalt. "What are you looking at?" Rashawn said. "You're not the only athlete here. I'm a good long jumper, the best at my school. I got a case of medals and trophies to prove it." "If you made it across," Nicole said, "how will that help us?" "I'll scramble down, anchor myself on the other side, and hold out my free arm. I got a very long reach. We'll build a chain from the other side. Chase can grab my hand, you grab his, and I'll pull you both across." "A running start is going to be nearly impossible with this crosswind," Chase pointed out. "We have to do something," Rashawn said. "What have we got to lose?" "You," Nicole said. Chase glanced back again at the breach behind them. "Rashawn's right. If we don't do something right now, we'll end up in the lake." Rashawn pulled her poncho off and handed it to Chase. "Stuff that into one of your Boy Scout pockets. It'll just get in my way. I'll need to have you stand on both sides of the road, shining both headlamps on my landing spot on the other side. I'll jump right between you." Chase switched his headlamp on and took the right side. Nicole took the left, about 15 feet away. Rashawn walked back to the previous breach, checking for anything on the road that might trip her. She took a couple of deep breaths, stared at her landing spot on the other side, then took off. Chase was right about the crosswind. He noticed Rashawn angling to his side, and he hoped it would be enough to compensate for the drift when she was in the air. He and Nicole stared in horror as Rashawn sailed off the ledge, then stalled midway across as if she'd smashed into an invisible wall. She seemed to hover for a minute, her arms and legs flailing away as if she were trying to fly. Then she dropped like a stone into the black, rushing water. 1:19 a.m. "So, John Masters," Cindy said, "what do you really do for a living?" "I'm just a working guy, traveling around helping people." "I didn't ask what you did. I asked, how do you make a living?" "What's the difference?" "Money, for one thing. It must cost a lot to travel around helping people. How do you pay for it?" "Are you a meteorologist or a reporter?" "Right now, I'm a weather woman. In my previous life, which was about a year ago, I was an investigative journalist. A good one. Too good, as it turned out. I was investigating a case of political corruption in San Francisco. Turns out that the man who owned the television station I worked for was up to his eyeballs in the scandal. And so was our lead news anchor, who also happened to be my now ex-husband, who happened to know a lot more about me than I wanted the public to know. Long story short, they won, I lost, and I got a job as far away as I could, hoping to get promoted to investigative journalist again." "Is that why you don't like news anchors?" "You mean Richard Krupp? I don't like Richard because he's an arrogant jerk. But he is the top-rated anchor in St. Pete. The viewers adore him, and he hates me." John laughed. "I can see why. I saw you throw him under the bus several times, and that's just when I was watching." "Bad move on my part. By contract, Richard has final say on all on-camera promotions. I'm pretty certain I'll be looking for another job as soon as Emily blows herself out." "Even though you are right about where Emily would make landfall," John said. "I didn't know where she would land. I just reported that we didn't know. I'm kind of old-fashioned in that regard. Reporters should report what they know, not what they think or want to have happen. Just once in my life, I'd like to see a reporter, or a talking head with a half-hour time slot to fill, say, Sorry, folks, we don't have any news worth reporting tonight. Instead, we're going to run an episode of SpongeBob SquarePants. Check back with us tomorrow and we'll let you know if anything has changed. John laughed. That's never going to happen. You're right, and it's a shame. Why'd you hitch a ride with me? If I recall, and I am a trained reporter, you asked if I wanted to go with you. I stand corrected, John said. Cindy nodded. I'll tell you why I accepted your offer. If you can get us through, I'll be able to get footage. That might save my job. It would also show up Richard Krupp. Like all good journalists, I'm very competitive. You can bet that Richard is in a news van right now with a producer, a cameraman, a sound person, and his makeup artist. I'm not here to get footage, John said. I'm here to find Chase. Something's happened. I think he's in trouble. I understand. We won't get in your way, and I'll help any way I can. But I want to be honest. A father trying to save his son in a hurricane is a good story. John looked through the windshield at the rain. Can we get back to the original subject? Cindy asked. What's that? You. John pointed at the flashing red and blue lights beyond the windshield. Let's wait and see if we can talk our way through this roadblock first. If you get past the first roadblock, the others are usually a breeze. And don't pull the TV card on them. They don't want you here. That's the best way to get turned around. Where's Tomas? He's taking a road less traveled. Cindy smiled, then recited. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. 2 roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by. And that has made all the difference. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost, John said. Tomas is a genius at finding back roads into towns. And, perhaps more important, roads out of towns if we need to leave quickly because of a storm. But his routes are less direct and more dangerous. So, are you a man who takes the road less traveled? Cindy asked. I'm just a working guy who travels roads. I don't believe you, John. John looked through the wet windshield at the flashing police lights, then glanced back into the crew cab, where Mark was sound asleep. Cover that camera with a coat or something, he said. If they see it, we're not going anywhere.